Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper. Today I have a video for you using a new bundle from the spring seasonal catalogue. It's called Wild Ferns and it can be found on page 21 of the mini catalogue. There's lots of lovely, just loveliness about it. Let me show you the stamp set a bit closer. So we've got some really nice sentiments. Wishing you well today, tomorrow and every day that follows. Thank you. You are greatly appreciated. Here's to new beginnings and heartfelt condolences. So lots and lots of different occasions that this set could be used for. And I love these line drawings of the ferns. We've got several different types of ferns in our garden because both myself and my husband love them. And there is also this sort of a Hessian textured background stamp, which background stamps like that are always handy to have. So for these 4 ferns here, there is a die that cuts those out. And then the lovely people at Stampin' Up have given us extra dies, which is what we love. So these 4 are the dies that cut out the stamped images. And then you've got these extra little sprigs of fern leaves. Some more there, some more there. Another little one there. And then these lovely edges, which will look really nice behind a corner. Just to give you an idea, when you die cut them, they can be used behind a corner like that. And I will be using those for another card. And then the other thing that we've got is these 3 rectangles, which have like a stitched effect on the edge. I'll be using that for this card. And they fit the greetings. Oh, that's me dropping one. They fit the greetings. So you can use this one that way round for that tall greeting. It will also, nope, they're smaller, so it's that's the one for the tall greeting. This one will fit the middle-sized one. That here's to new beginnings, you are greatly appreciated, and heartfelt condolences. And then this little dinky one will fit the thank you. So really nice dies to have in your stash. Really nice for layering up, for sentiments and things like that, which is what I'm going to do on the card we're going to make today. So I'm just going to retrieve that die that I've just dropped on the floor. As I said, you'll see me using these corner dies in another video, which I've yet to make. Okay, so the card we're going to make today is one that all card makers hate having to make. I love card making. This is probably the one card that no one wants to make, which is a condolences card. So it's really handy to have that heartfelt condolences sentiment in that stamp set. I've made this card for the husband of one of my oldest and closest friends who very sadly passed away after a year's battle of cancer. It's hit us all really hard. She was the friend out of my friendship group that I've had since we went to school that we thought would be the one that outlived all of us. She exercised regularly, she ran, she walked, she did all sorts of fitness classes, played badminton. So it just goes to show cancer that is no respecter of your health. So I'm going to show you how I made this card. Obviously the same design could be used for a card that isn't for condolences, but that is what my card is actually made for. You can see that I've used that Hessian effects stamp, but I've also used this textured background stamp from another stamp set. That is from the Notes of Nature, which is also from the spring seasonal. Okay, I've used this one here. Right, let's get going before I waffle too much and get upset. That's likely to happen, I'm afraid. Okay, so to start with, I have a C6 card base. This is half of an A4 sheet. cut lengthways and scored across the middle. So I scored my A4 sheet at 14.8 and then cut it in half lengthways at 10.5. And this is thick basic white. So that's our base. Excuse my scruffy bit of paper, but I'm going to do some stamping off. And then my next layer is a piece of basic white. No need to use the thick again. And this is cut at 14.3 centimeters by 10. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is use this. It's sort of I want to say an Excel grid. If I show you the other side of the stamp, yeah, it is basically like a grid from a ledger. And I'm going to use some crumb cake, and all I'm going to do is randomly stamp around the outside edge of my card, except for I have an inability to do random, so I always do the four corners first and then fill in the bits from there. Okay, I'm just going to fill in those middle sections, and I'm stamping off, so because I don't want white space around the edge. If you didn't mind a bit of white space around the edge, then that's fine. You wouldn't need to stamp off. Okay, so that's that one. And then on top of that, I've got a piece of this lovely ribbon, which is sadly retired. It was called Natural Finish ribbon. I'm a bit naughty with ribbons. I buy them because I love them, and then I don't always use them. So one of my crafting resolutions for 2024 was to use up the stash I've got before I buy anything else. Hence the reason I'm using a retired ribbon. But if you don't have any of that, there are some lovely ribbons in the Stampin' Up! Annual and seasonal catalogue. So I'm just going to flip this over. I'm going to put a piece of tear and tape onto the back. I find tear and tape or seal is probably the best way of attaching ribbon. It doesn't work using Tombow because the glue doesn't set quick enough to grip the ribbon, and you just end up with a mess. So either glue dots if it's a fine ribbon, or as I said, something like tear and tape or snail. Okay, now I obviously want to make sure I get my ribbon level, so the way I do that is to put on one side, turn it over, make sure I've got it level, and then tuck the other side under. Okay, and then we're going to attach that to our card front with some Tombow. I really feel like I've brought the mood down now, telling you about my friend, but yeah, she was a very important part of mine and my children's lives. She didn't have any children of her own, so she borrowed mine regularly, took them on all sorts of fabulous outings, and yeah, her and her husband have been a big part of my children's lives as well, and also my grandchildren's lives. Not so much the newer granddaughter, but the almost 4-year-old. You know, they say family is the friends of the family you choose for yourself, and that was certainly the sentiment with my lovely friend. And she really, you know, she looked out for me, she looked out for the rest of my family. Right, I really am going to stop talking about her now, because I will end up crying on the video, which is not good, even though you can't see my face because I'm a messy crier. Okay, so I'm now coming in with the Hessian background stamp, and again I'm going 4 corners first because, as I said, I have a pathological inability to be able to randomly stamp. It's just, I've never been good at it. And we're just going to fill in the gaps. Doesn't matter if you have a little bit of overlap, and then I'm just going to go across the middle to fill in there. And I'll just put that bit further in there. Okay, so we've got that sort of almost like stippled brushed effect. and that is going to be mounted on some dimensionals. I can find what I've done with them. Yep, so I'm using our full-size dimensionals for this, and I'm putting them on each corner rather than the middle, because the middle of this piece of card is going over the Hessian ribbon, and I don't really want to bunch it up any more than necessary. So because the ribbon is raised, obviously, by putting the dimensionals on the corners, that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, now this piece of card is cut at 9 centimetres by 8 centimetres, and whilst it wouldn't appear to make very much difference, it is important that you get it the right way round. So I am using the 9 centimetre edge, because if I used the 8 centimetre edge, it would sit in the middle more like that, which is absolutely fine, but on this card I want to have it that way. Okay, so as I said, I've got dimensionals top and bottom on there, and you, just a little tip, you might have seen me flicking the backs off into this little jam jar. I'm not sure about the States, but in the UK, you quite often, if you go for an afternoon tea, you get your jam in one of these little jam jars, and I never throw them away. I always keep them. In fact, I've been known for stealing other people's, because they put them on the plate and I'm like, no, I take that home. But they are great for just flicking the backs of your dimensionals into, and they're also great for standing your Tombow in. Oh yeah, that one's still got a Wilkins and Sons. Right, okay, back to the card. So what I've then done is I've gone ahead and I've stamped this curly fern, and I've stamped that in soft sea foam, and I have die cut it already, so you don't have to hear me using the die cutting machine. So that's that one, and I have gone ahead and die cut 2 of the 3 sizes of the rectangles that fit the greetings with the stitched edge, because this time I'm going to use the thank you sentiment. We all need thank you cards, don't we? Always handy to have in our stash. No, we don't want that one. There we go, that's the thank you, and that also fits quite nicely on there. I'm just going to mount that up on a block, and I'm stamping that in soft sea foam. Okay, and I'm just going to eyeball that and stamp that in the middle. Oh, I knew I'd do that. Never mind. Okay, I always do this. I always press too heavily, and if you press too heavily with a stamp that's quite narrow, you end up with this sort of shadow from the edge of the rubber stamp. So what I'm going to do is cover that up with some gems, so that's fine. So there's always a way around it. Don't think that because you've done something like that you've got to throw it away. Sometimes I turn it over, but because this is a stamped, I don't know if you can see, because this is a die cut stitched effect, turning it over is not the same. Okay, and I'm going to glue that onto the, this is the middle size die cut, and I've done that in Very Vanilla because that coordinated quite nicely, I thought, with the crumb cake. So let's just put some glue, and less is more with the glue, because we don't want it to squidge out all over the edges of our crumb cake label. I always feel crumb cake, not crumb cake, Very Vanilla is one of the colours that is a little bit forgotten, but it's a really nice neutral. Okay, and again I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of that. I'm using big ones this time again, and then I'm going to bring in my small ones for the fern. Oh, a piece of card stuck on that. Okay, so where's our fern? Here's our fern, and it's quite nice shaped for these mini dimensionals. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put the greeting on first this time. Just get my little pot, because I want to tuck the stem of the fern underneath the greeting, and the easiest way to make sure I get it in the place where I want it is to put the greeting on first. So this time I'm putting, no, actually I'm going to do it that way. Pointed it into the right hand corner, and I've just realised that that's wobbly, but my glue's set, so that'll have to do. And then I'm going to just flick the backs of the mini dimensionals off into my little jar, and then I want to tuck the stalk of that behind my greeting. And then we'll just bring in some gems. I'm just having a root to see what I've got. An awful lot of Christmas gems left over. Again, New Year's resolution. Oh, that'd be nice. We'll go with some pearls. Again, I use diamantes a lot, but I don't use pearls all that often, and I've got a few. So I'll just grab that out of there, and I'll get my take your pick tool, and we will add something classy about pearls, I always think. I'm going to add 1, 2, 3. Always use odd numbers, and that just takes away that, detracts from that shadow that I got when I was stamping. Come on, there. And then I'm just going to dot 1 or 2 pearls around the rest of the card. And you could use whatever embellishments you happen to have. Okay, I'll go there with that one. Right, okay. Because the base is basic white, I don't need to line that, so I can write directly into the card. So there's our finished card. I hope you like it, and I hope you'll give this sort of, it's very neutral, isn't it? Give this sort of neutral effect a go. That's really going to bug me that that's not level now. Anyway, okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me. Have a little bit of a offload, and I will see you all again soon. Thanks for watching, and happy stamping.